All right, so today we're going to be reviewing adjectives. You saw a video yesterday on adjectives, gave you an idea, and we've kind of done some of these. If you've attended our Zoom meetings, we've had some of those, they call them Mad Libs. It's where I was asking you for the different parts of speech, like I'd ask, give me a noun, or give me an adjective, or I might say, give me a verb. Now, remember, verbs are action words, nouns are people, places, and things. We're going to be talking about adjectives. Adjectives describe a noun. So if, for example, if I have this cube right here, this would be a cube. Cube would be the noun. What is a way I could describe the cube? I could say it is a red cube. So red would be the adjective. I could also say that it is a plastic cube. In that case, plastic would be an adjective. If I had if I had an ice cream cone, and I was going to talk about the ice cream on top of the cone. So ice cream would be the noun, and maybe sweet would be a way for me to describe that ice cream, sweet ice cream. Okay, so sweet would be the adjective. We're going to start by talking about adjectives that talk about taste and smell. When you watched the video yesterday, you will have noticed that they talked about using your 5 senses. And if you think about how something looks, how something feels, how something sounds, how something tastes, and how something smells. Those are ways you can think of when you're trying to describe something. Now, I'm probably not going to taste this book. That would be a weird thing to describe this book as. But I probably could use my eyes, okay? I could look at it and see what it looks like. I can also use my fingers and hands and describe it. So what do we call this book? We actually call this our floppy koala book, right? So it's our floppy book. I can also describe it by looking at it and say that it's a green book for the most part, right? Okay, or I could say it's a colorful book because of all the pictures. All right, so let's start with adjectives for taste and smell. All right, so some examples. He drank sour lemonade. Lemonade is the thing we're talking about, and sour describes it. The meadow smells sweet. Sweet is describing the meadow. The meadow is what we're talking about, okay? The pizza was spicy, salty, and cheesy. So what's the thing we're talking about? We're talking about pizza, and what are the words to describe it? You have spicy, salty, and cheesy. All 3 of those are adjectives, okay? So we had sour, sweet, spicy, salty, cheesy. Those are adjectives for both taste and smell. Let's look at this one and see if we can draw a line under each adjective. We're not going to write them on the line next to it, but we're just going to, actually we're going to go ahead and just circle them. All right, I smell the fresh bread. So what's the thing that we're talking about? Yeah, we're talking about the bread. And what word describes the bread? Fresh describes the bread, so fresh is the adjective. Okay, let's look at this one. She eats the sweet peaches. What's the thing that we're talking about here? Yeah, we're talking about peaches. And what is describing the peaches? Sweet describes the peaches. How about this one? The dip tastes spicy. What thing are we talking about? And we're talking about the dip. And how do they describe the dip? They describe it by saying it's spicy. Okay? How about this one? The picnic is yummy. What's the thing that they're talking about? Yep, they're talking about the picnic. And how do they describe the picnic? They describe it as yummy. Okay, that's a taste, right? All right, the air smells clean. What is the thing that we're talking about? We are talking about the air. And how do they describe the air? They say that it is clean. Good. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to be looking and finding the adjectives. So when you have more than 2 adjectives, okay, let's go back up to this example, you're going to be putting commas in between them, okay, if you have more than 2. If you just have 2, you actually wouldn't have a comma here. You would just say salty and cheesy. But when you have 3, it goes item, comma, and then the word and, right? And then no more commas. We've kind of done this we've done this in class before. All right, when we've done our writing. All right, so let's look at number 6 here. It says the cheese is soft, chewy, and delicious. So what's the thing we're talking about? We're talking about the cheese, and what are the words we use to describe it? We use soft, chewy, and delicious. So we're going to put a comma between soft, and then we're going to put a comma after chewy. Once we get to the word and, we don't put any more commas, right? Okay, the and is by itself, and we know that after the and, we're going to have our last item. Okay, that's our clue. All right, let's look at this one. The perfume was fragrant, fruity, and sweet. Can you see where I would put the commas? Yeah, perfume is what we're talking about. Fragrant, fruity, and sweet are the three adjectives. So since this is the first adjective, put a comma. Here's the second adjective, put a comma. And then you have the word and, so you know you're almost to the last thing. You're done with your commas though. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and talk about now adjectives for sound and texture. Okay, let's get this lined up a little bit. So that means how it looks and how it feels. All right, so this one is the kite landed with a quiet bump. All right, with a quiet bump. So what are we talking about? Yeah, we're talking about the kite. Okay, and now what describes the kite? Is there a sound or a way it feels? Yeah, it has a sound. The sound is quiet. All right, the grass in the meadow felt soft. So what's the thing that we're talking about that they're describing? They're describing the grass, and what do they say about the grass? They say it's soft. That would be a texture thing. Okay? All right, this one. The sand felt hot, rough, and sticky. All three of these are the way that it feels, and what are we talking about? The sand. Okay, so let's look at this one and see if we can find the textures and the sound adjectives for each one. This one is, we walk in the wet mud. So mud is what we're talking about. What describes the mud? Yeah, wet describes the mud. That would be how it feels, right? Okay, how about this one? Our dog has a loud bark. Which word in here describes? Which one's the adjective? Okay, yeah, the word loud describes something, and it's describing the bark. Okay, let's look at this one. Sophia whispers in a soft voice. So what is something in here that gets described? Yeah, voice gets described. Soft is how it's described, okay? All right, how about this one? We feel the cool breeze. What's the object being described? Breeze is being described, and how do they describe it? They describe it as being cool. All right, a couple more. We pick up a smooth stone. What object is being described there? Yeah, stone is being described. Okay, what is the word they use to describe it? They use the word smooth. Okay, all right, now remember when we did the other page, we're looking for the adjectives in a list, and when we have more than two, if we have three or more adjectives or three or more items in any list, we need to use our commas. Okay, so the dough felt soft, moist, and sticky. What's the thing we're talking about? We're talking about the dough. And the adjectives that they use are soft, moist, and sticky. So we're going to put a comma after our first adjective, and then after our next adjective, and then we have the word and, so we're done with our commas. Okay? All right, this one, the thunder was loud, pounding, and scary. What's the thing that's being described? Yeah, thunder is being described. So what are our adjectives? We have loud, pounding, and the word scary. So here's our first adjective, loud. I'm going to put a comma after that one, put a comma after the next one in the list. Then we have our word and, so we are done with our commas. Okay? All right. Sounds good. Good luck on your practice pages for adjectives.